Hello everyone, very good morning and thanks for joining. This is Revant and we hope you are able to hear me. So let us get started with the,
Good morning.
let's just continue with the complete thing that we were talking about yesterday, that is, building a machine learning system which could understand the data of, the iris flowers, which is the text information, and we will be trying to understand how this learning system would be uh, working, and we basically are trying to use Python to do the basic data pre-processing, and we are here to split the training information. So yesterday we understood. I told you that the one of the step. So if you observe something, the comments that we are talking here, the comments which are written over here, the load data set, split out validation data set, and all, these are various different steps involved in any kind of machine learning system. Literally any. Okay. Even if you take a basic AI system to highly advanced one, this is the procedure that you need to follow. And of course, these first lines, the initial lines here, loading the modules and libraries. This step is anyway common for any programming language or any application, whether it is Python or any other language. These loading the modules and libraries is pretty common. Okay, so we first loaded all the modules and libraries which are actually needed for our program. That is the first thing that you do. And then, and you may ask me, sir, how do I get to know that I should use pandas? How will I get to know that sklearn, I should use sklearn? So that comes with the knowledge on documentation of Python. You need to understand which module is used for what, which library is used for what. Same applies for any programming language, not just Python or not just this program. Okay, so first of all, for those who don't know what a library is, how this works is basically just a second. So how this basically works is I'm just recapping the program basics over here. Just a sec. So your program, normally a Python program or any other program that you basically write. So modules, libraries, inbuilt functions, and user-defined functions. So what are these exactly? First of all, let us come from, let's try to understand from the bottom. So what is a function? A function in any programming language is a set of tasks, set of uh, steps that are involved in a task, making it even more clear. So to perform any task, let's say you want to perform an addition. You take two numbers, you add two numbers, you return the result. As simple as that. Let's say I want to print a number. Even print is a function. Print is an inbuilt function. You take C language, Java, Python, any. Print is one of the common function that we use. If you take JavaScript, it is console.log, the alternative for print or alert. These are functions which are inbuilt, which are made to reduce your time that you put in to achieve a task. These are inbuilt functions, means you don't write or define that function basically. So a function is basically a simple task that you want to accomplish. So for example, if you take our program, the one that we wrote, we used a lot of functions inside this. We used read CSV is one function. Reading a CSV file involves a lot of procedure, but here the goal that is set for you, or the problem that you're solving, is just to take the information. Your task is just to take the information and find out whether uh, this particular species is Iris setosa or virginica or versicolor. That is your task, but you don't invest your time on understand or writing the code for reading CSV file. Then what do? You take advantage of a module inside which the entire procedure or entire code for reading a CSV file is already written. So it is now like a telephone directory for you. Okay, so you need to use this as a reference, the documentation of Python or the programming languages that we are talking about. You should use that documentation as a reference, understand which module is used for which library is used for which function is used for what is the syntax of that function, what are parameters that I need to pass into that function. You can call them as parameters, or uh, you know you can call them as parameters or function arguments. How to pass that function argument, that entire knowledge basically comes from the documentation of the programming language. That is about the inbuilt functions which are already there. You just need to gain some knowledge on which is used for what. So in this workshop we are going to focus on few of the modules and libraries which are existing, and we'll be looking at them from an application perspective. Next, coming to the user defined functions are those functions which you write on your own, which you define on your own. Actually, there is one project that we are going to discuss, that is nothing but a chatbot application. Okay, I will give you one chatbot application, and you're going to build it using deep learning. So I'll show you the complete procedure on how to do that is actually, that project will give you a complete knowledge on how to build a end-to-end project using Python. So that is one. So that is about user-defined functions are those which we write and call them on our own, and inbuilt functions you just need to have knowledge on which modules and libraries you need to use. So modules and libraries, these are pretty important here, and these are the reason why Python became the go-to destination for lot of different applications. Let's say with Python, you can build IoT applications, Internet of Things applications. you can build machine learning applications, you can build normal native software, you can build websites, you can do data analytics problems. Why? Because these modules and libraries which are already there, I'm talking about which are already there, so not the ones that we are building, but these are totally open source and anyone can use it. You just need to have knowledge on how to use them. That's it. The environment is open source. The Anaconda environment that we are using is open source. The modules and libraries, most of them are open source. You can even machine learning modules, which are machine learning modules and libraries, which are highly sophisticated. They are even pretty open and free for you. So that is if a particular programming language is open source, you could see a lot of development in the technology. For example, the best example is Android. You pretty much know how fast the Android applications or the market penetrated into the uh, public, or you can say the consumer market. So moving on to the next one. Yeah, one more thing that I wanted to mention here is, you must be wondering, sir, you took a data set, or so this is the data set that we took, right? This is the data set that we took, the highlighted part. So, uh, how to get these kind of data sets? Let's say I want to build a project, and I was wondering which kind of data set I should use, where should I get it. So most of the times you could get the basic data sets from the internet. One of the resource that you have here is this one. Kaggle is one of the very good resource for you to get data sets. Even if you see, there was a separate section over here which is data sets. People can actually this is a basically a data set repository. Those who have data sets would exchange, uh, will upload. Let's say I made one data set with me because of my research on something. Then I could actually upload that data set here. See, trending YouTube video statistics. And let me just show you how these are done and how you need to identify this. So just give me a sec. So if you observe, this is a video statistics data set, and one important thing that you need to remember here is so here we have a lot of information. Like, if you look at this information, kind I mean, which category this video belong to. E tag is, I think, that's some unique identifier for the video. ID, snippet. So there are various different parameters which are mentioned over here, and you have this information in various different formats as well. And if you observe something, there is one format called JSON. If you observe JSON, JSON basically stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Okay, that is what it stands for. Okay, so most of the data that you have outside, which is which is given for the data sets will be in the form of JSON. So JSON should basically be converted, or it must basically be pre-processed. And one thing to remember here is, so JSON is nothing but your data format. Your data will have a format. In the example that we did, what is the format of the data that we have? We have CSV, that is a CSV format data. So most of the times, other than CSV, you could basically find JavaScript object notation. So, and you basically need to perform pre-processing on the top of this JSON. I'll show you this procedure, how to do this and all. Nothing to worry. As the context came, I'm just explaining it. And also try to learn about JSON. This is pretty basic. Try to understand what JSON is, how it is written in code and all that. So I will show you how to do the conversions, but you try to learn how it is formed, how you structure a JSON and all that. So most of the data sets will be available here. Let's see if I can get any image recognition data set. So yeah, I have even you can select the format in which you want this information in. Do you want, see, these are the formats. This is pretty important. These are all various different formats where your data set could be available in. Okay, so these different formats, whichever format you are comfortable with, you could get those, and you also need to have an idea on which functions, how these conversions will be done, basically. And one more thing is, I see a question where which function is used to convert JSON into this information. So just to give you some knowledge, JSON, listen carefully. JSON is a format which is not acceptable in Python. I mean, Python cannot do anything if the data is in the format of JSON. So basically, you need to convert your JSON into something called a dictionary. Okay. Let us say you have a lot of information. You got a data set, and that is in the form of a JSON. You cannot do any data pre-processing on JSON directly. You need to first convert that JSON into a dictionary, and then you could do whatever you want. So I'll give you a small task for you now. Just do this task, very simple one. You can research over internet. Get the code to convert the JSON information to a Python dictionary. Get the code to convert JSON information which is in the JSON format to dictionary. Once you get the code, you can paste it on the chat box. Whoever found it, just paste it on the chat box. Pretty simple to find. Just a simple exercise for you to basically find out and do some research, because programming itself means it involves a lot of research whenever you want to write a function or get a syntax for something. I'm giving you 5 minutes. How to convert okay. Okay, the task is yours. Please do that. And also, once you get the code, execute it. Okay, open your spider, try to convert, do an example, do an example on your own, take some time, try to execute it on your own. Okay, if you get any errors, I will take few of your errors and I'll try to show you. Even I'll show you on my screen as well. Just try to do it. Yeah, thanks for sharing the code. Um, yeah, so I'll show you. This concept is kind of one of the core concept in Python, and also dictionaries is the way of representing data. For example, I'll show you one example. Data structures is one of the important concept that you need to understand, and also I'm going to give you one good resource for you to have a reference about this. See, first let us understand what a dictionary is and what a JSON is. Okay. See, for example, I'm trying to qualify an object. Okay. Qualifying an object in the sense what? I'm talking about a particular thing. Let us take Facebook. What Facebook talks about in particular? Who are the objects in Facebook? People like us. What is the data that is basically associated or that is generated on Facebook? Let's say there is one guy called Revant. He is from this particular region. He studied here. This is his date of birth. He's, let's say, this many years old, and some information I would give and some information I generate on Facebook actually. Yesterday we were talking about data generation. We basically generate a lot of information, and that information is basically used by these organizations. So the structure of that information will be looking something like this. This is the format in which write that information. If you observe here, let us consider this one. Brand is Ford. So this dictionary is basically talking about a car whose brand name is Ford. It is not electric. It is manufactured in this particular year. These are the color options. So brand Ford. So this is just like you writing some properties, right? So this is called a key value pair. Key value. What is key here? The word brand is a key and value is Ford. Okay. And this is how even JSON looks like. JSON also looks like the same. A dictionary in Python talks about a particular object or a person or a thing, whatever it is. It talks about a particular thing, particular stuff. If you take JSON is basically a JavaScript notation. Even if you see, whenever you look at it, you basically don't find much difference here. Both will be doing the same. So even JSON can talk about. I'm giving you these resources on the chat box. Please have a look. You could, for your future reference, you could use these. So these two are the purpose of these two are the same, but Python it is dictionary, in JavaScript it is JSON. But the thing is, most of the time, the information that basically moves around your internet. Let's say you're trying to load some information, uh, load some information from a website. You know how that information comes in, the format of the information comes in. It comes in the form of a JSON, because your websites are basically built using JavaScript. Most of the websites, that is, JavaScript is the language that is used over there. Okay. So the format of the information that comes is JSON. And let's say you want to use that information. As I told you one example, let's say I have one data set in Kaggle, which is in JSON, and then I want to convert it. So you have those JSON conversions here. Even you can see that. You can actually have a look at that here. there is a concept called Python JSON where you could find few functions. First of all, you need to import a module called JSON. So that is the first step that you need to do. That is the first thing that you need to write. So, and then you can take a JSON formatted info. Okay. There are JSON generators also. You can generate JSON online, or you can see, you can actually generate the information over here. This is how a normal sample JSON looks like. It is talking about, don't get scared with the terminology over there. It is just talking about a particular person or particular thing at the end of the day. Okay. So there are JSON generators also. You can use them to generate the info. And this is how you retrieve the information. So JSON to Python, a function called JSON.loads is used. The reverse of it, JSON.dumps is used. Okay, that is how you basically convert it. So once you convert that into a dictionary, you can literally do anything with it. It means your information is organized already. It is converted into dictionary means what? It is already organized. You can, take the information from the dictionary. You can change it. Uh, you can update the information. You can do whatever you want once it is converted into a dictionary. Okay, so that is about the dataset conversions. We looked at CSV conversion and also we looked at JSON conversion. Coming to the JSON conversion, I have a separate application for it. I will show you in real time how to build a chatbot, okay, using a JSON dataset, a dataset which is in a JSON format. Okay, so that is one. And yeah, but here in the program that we are building, we are not using JSON at all. We are using CSV. That's why we used a separate function. So that is the reason why you need to have an idea on, okay, for CSV, which functions should we use, which modules should we use, for JSON, which modules, which functions should we use, and all. So that comes with a lot of reading about the Python, the Python functions and all, so which are included in the document. I will give you resources, don't worry. I'll give you a few best resources and blogs where you could find good information on this completely. Okay, so yeah. So next one, yeah, here in the yesterday's program that we were trying to write. Just a second. Yes, pandas is modules. That's right. Okay. So next, we will try to understand how you basically split the information. Yesterday we learned about a function called train, test, and split. Okay, so we will try to understand what that is and how do you basically write that function over here. So once you divide this information into, so you basically divided the information into two parts, right? I mean, I'm not talking about validation dataset and training dataset. Just a sec. So your training information, is basically divided into train dataset and sorry. training info and validation info. Okay, so that this task is basically done by using your train test split, that function. So let us now look at that function over here. I already imported that here. So train test split, to this function I need to pass the function arguments, or the parameters here. So the parameters that I'm going to use here are this. Number one is x. What is x? Capital X represents, so I'm writing it here. Capital X represents values, just values, that's it. These decimal values that we are seeing over here. Okay, and Y represents labels, labels for each and every value. Okay, so first you need to split those two. Values and labels should be split, and then that information should be given to this function as capital X and small y. Actually, you can use capital Y also. Okay, X and Y. And after that, there is one. Let me show you something. So if you go to the train test split documentation of scikit-learn, I'm sending this link. So this is the function train test split, and here if you see there are two parts into this. Those who are not aware of how to understand what a function does, please listen to this. So this is a function. Okay, as I told you, what is a function? A function executes, or it performs a certain number of steps to accomplish a task. Okay, what is the task here? My task is just to split the information into two different parts: training and validation. Okay, so you need to tell, so you need to first give, okay, you need to tell that function that, okay, this is the data, take this data and then split it. So how do you pass the data? You pass the data inside this arrays. So this is where your data is sent into arrays. There must be a few arrays here, and if you look at the code that I wrote, try to compare these two now. These two are the arrays here, X and Y. I wrote those two arrays. This is like a blueprint for you. And then the second part is basically called as options. Okay, the few options here. So these options will tell you few things. Okay, because you can basically customize a function. You can tell a function to do something to it, right? So here the second part is options, and what are those options is what we are going to see. So there are two variables here. If you observe, these are all called options. Okay, and in the documentation they will give you description of those options. What is test size? What is train size? What is random state? What is called a shuffle? what is stratify, and splitting, how the information will come back to you, and they will explain that with an example. Okay, so now according to our code, I'm going to tell you one thing. So as I told you, you need to divide the information into two different parts, but the question here is, in what amount you need to divide? What should be the share? How much should be the training information and how much should be the validation information? It is just like how many questions you need to ask your student in the examination to check whether he learned properly or not. It is just like that. Okay. Here in machine learning, the generic norm is to keep training information as 80% and testing information as 20%. That is a generic norm. Okay. So how do I tell it? How do I tell that is by using these two parameters called test size and train size. You can mention any one of these and see. Um, it should be between, it is basically represented in, even they will show the value here. It should be represented in between 0 to 1, means 0 represents 0%, 1 represents 100%. Okay, and represent the proportion of the data set to include in the test split. How much information should be in the test information? Test means nothing but your validation data set. Okay, so I would say here the test size should be 0.2. What does this mean is, I want my validation data set to be 20% of the training information. Means what is the training information that we got? Those 150 values, 150 rows of information. Out of that, take 20% as validation data set, 80% as test training data set. You either need to mention, either one of these are enough. Even if you want to mention like train size is equal to 0.8, that is redundant. You don't need to mention the second one. You at least because obviously if you're writing 0.2 means it will consider 0.8 as other one. Okay, so you need to, this is called configuring a function. Okay, this is the function name. Every function will be having these open brackets, and inside those I send the parameters. How to send the parameters? I go to the documentation, I refer to it and try to understand how I need to send information to it, and should I want to shuffle this information or not. Actually, I'll tell you why shuffle. There is a parameter called shuffle here. The reason why we are shuffling the information here is because, see, I have this training information, right? If I am training my student, let's say I am not shuffling this information at all, I'm just giving it as is, then what will happen is it will take the first 80% of the values as training and last 20% as validation. Means, let's consider Iris Setosa is chapter 1, versicolor is chapter 2, Virginica is chapter 3. Okay, just draw the analogy with your normal examination system. So the questions that I ask should be random, right? In an examination, you don't just ask a question about only the questions wouldn't be about a particular chapter. It will be random. You want to test it by taking various different concepts that he learned in these 3 chapters. That will give you more accuracy. If you're just checking one chapter, then that doesn't make any sense. So if you are giving this information without shuffling, the first 80%, the machine will only learn about Setosa and versicolor. That's it. He may not have any idea about Virginica because it is in the last 20%. But if you shuffle, then what happens is everything will be in a chaos. So he will learn about Setosa, he will learn about versicolor, he will learn about Virginica in equal proportions. Okay, that is why you should set shuffle to true. Then it will shuffle that information. Where does this process of splitting and everything happens? It happens in the background because you already imported this train test split that it performs in the background. And what is the output of it? The output of that, the output of this function will be 4 different values. Okay. Number one, just a sec. These will be 4 different values, and these 4 different values could be represented like this. I'm basically trying to assign these values here. I would say so these 4 values could be written like this: X train, X validation, X train, X validation, Y train, and Y validation. Okay. So please write this code. So by at this point, you basically completed the splitting of the information. Information is split. That's it. We are yet to implement. We are yet to implement the training. I mean, we are yet to train it. So the next step would be importing an algorithm and train my system. Import makes sense. Import an algorithm and train your system. Okay. So just I sent the documentation link for this train test split. Just go through that for later reference. Okay. So please execute this. The code is already on the screen. Try to execute it and you can post errors. And I'm checking the YouTube's timeline also. Please post if you're getting any errors. And we'll break for a while and come back. Come back at 11:15. We'll continue the session. We'll continue with the uh, training part. Okay. Lavanya, I already sent the link. Could someone paste the link over here? I already sent it. I think she's not able to see that. Okay. I'll see you back at 11:15 and we'll continue with the session. All right, so let's get back. So we'll first try to look at how to import an algorithm that is already there in Python. So I'll be showing you a few algorithms that are kind of pretty much used in machine learning. So the first one that you have is the sklearn's logistic regression. This is one of the algorithm that we could use, and I'll show you how to import this logistic regressions algorithm. Okay, and then the second step is how to use it, how to import it, and then how to use it in Python. So the first one is you need to, if you observe, previously we imported sklearn. Sklearn is already imported, and from that we imported model selection. But here it is not model selection; it is linear model. Okay, inside the inside the module sklearn, you have a submodule called linear model. From there you are going to get this function called logistic regression. That is what it means. So we need to now import a different submodule here. So in line number 6 I'm writing this code. So from sklearn dot linear model import logistic regression. Please write that line number 6. I'm giving you one reference for understanding the logistic regression. Please use this link as reference. Okay, it got the statistical explanation of how the logistic regression basically is how the algorithm is basically built inside. Okay, so once I import it, the algorithm import is done. Now we need to use it. Okay, you can straight away use the function name, and before doing that, we need to understand a few things here. So using logistic regression, I am now going to uh, execute, take this training information. This is the information which I split already. Okay, I will take this information out and then use this information, line number 26, to train an algorithm. So now the kid we were talking about, the kid who is going to take this examination, or you can say the one who is going to get trained, is nothing but your logistic regression. He's the person, or he's the student now. Till now you just organized the textbook, you made the textbook for him to learn. Now it is available. Now you call the student inside the classroom. So we called it in line number 6, like this. And now we need to push this data as training information to the student. Okay. So first step is basically you need to, even before going there, we need to uh, perform a few things here. So the first one is going to be, I'm writing model to implement. That is a variable name. You can use any variable. I'm just trying to make it more comprehensive. That's it. So you can use any name over there. Even you can use your name. No problem. So model to implement is my logistic regression model. So I would write that function. So this is a default way of calling this function. This is the function, the logistic regression. And what I'm going to do is I will be sending this data, the training. I need to train it first, right? How to train it is, listen carefully, it's pretty simple. How to perform training is, you need to use a function called model to implement dot fit. Dot fit is a function which is used to perform the training. And what is the training information here? My training information is inside xtrain. Where is this xtrain? I got this xtrain after splitting this information. Means this is 80%. This is 80% of the training information, which consists of values. X consists of values, Y consists of labels. Here, line number 17 and line number 18. So I took all these values, and then I will be using that as, I will be passing that as training information and Y underscore train. I don't need the validation information right now. Okay. So the purpose of that is kind of different. I'll show you where. So yeah. Now, if you see, this is the place where you perform the training, and then once the training is done, you do the prediction. So we will be using a function called prediction is equal to model to implement dot predict. And to this predict function, you're going to you basically need to send, see, what do you want to predict now? Okay, so I want to predict, I will take a random flowers. Now I just plucked a random flower, and I now want to find out to which species this could potentially belong to. Okay, so this is where we are going to do the prediction now. So I would take some random values. I would say 5.0, that is the sepal length. Sepal width is 3.0. and 1 and 0.2, and this should be inside a multi-dimensional array. That is a format you need to use. And finally, I'm going to print the predicted outcome. So I would print prediction. I don't want to print anything. I'm removing all the print statements. I'm not now worried about all those print statements here. Okay, I just have only one print statement right now, and I'll send you the program. Don't worry. Let me first verify this and check if this is working or not, and I will just show you. I'll just give you the code later that. So yeah, so if I run this program, guys, one thing, please listen here. Let us say your console is having a lot of data right now, and even before going there, I will explain a few things about the spider. So this is the place where you edit the code. This is the code editor. This place is your console. There is one more section on the top of this, but I closed it. We don't use it much. So this is called the console, a place where you see the errors and the output. So all the errors and the results and everything will be seen here. And this button is used to run your code. And if the file option is used to save the code. So there are a lot of options inside file. If at all you want to save the code or open a new project or anything, you can use that. And these are the pretty much mostly used options that you would want to know. So code editor and the console are two different things over here. Okay. So let me yeah, and one more thing here. Whenever you have a lot of data in this console, you can just right click on it. Just right click on the console, and there is one option here called clear console. So once you click on clear, it will clear off everything. See, now it's empty. And there is one more option called remove all variables. Let us say if you are getting an error continuously, though you fixed it, it means the variables are stored in temporary memory. Okay, it is also called as a cache memory. So if at all you are getting repeated errors, also make sure that you click on remove all variable. That is not compulsory, but if you remove all the variables means previous values will be deleted, and you will be having the current fresh values over here. So clear console and remove variables could be used. Now I wrote the code, and I am expecting the prediction here. So if I run this now, I ran the code now. See, it is predicting that these values would belong to Iris setosa. Means the values that you are giving here, the features that you are giving here in the text format, the prediction is saying that this could be mostly Iris setosa. Let's say I'm changing this values to 10, 10.0 and 7.0 and 2.5 and 0.2. Let's see what it predicts. and it predicts iris setosa. Let me reduce the values. So if I take various different values, the predictions are basically changing, and you can cross check with this. And if you observe something, I nowhere wrote any if condition mentioning the class interval. Okay, if these values fall under this particular category, show me this. I never did that in the program. So your model is basically learned to predict that the nearest value, obviously it will give you the nearest value, which is you know the label of the nearest value. So that's what you see here. So please execute this. I'm giving you this code, this entire code. I send this on Telegram, on the Zoom chat. It is available on the chat box. Please check. I'm sending you guys one link. The code is over there in that link. Please check it. I sent you one link as well. The code is available over there. Okay. Please execute it. Let me know if you're facing any errors. Try to do multiple predictions over here. So what is it saying is pandas is imported, but we are not using the pandas directly. The reason why it shows that warning is because if that is not getting used, why to even write it? So even the same thing happens with your sklearn. So these lines are redundant. Even if you delete these lines, still your program would work because we are directly writing from pandas. Means it will understand that okay, this guy is already importing pandas. From pandas itself represents that you are importing pandas already. So import pandas is basically redundant. That's why it shows that warning. Okay, you can delete it actually. See, still I'm getting the output. I'm not facing any error, though I delete it. If anyone is getting any errors, please share the error message on the chat box, please. And people who are on YouTube, you could share it on the live stream chat. Okay, I think it's working. Um, so yeah, please try that. Let me know. I'm giving you time to do it. Do multiple predictions. For those who are done, you could actually try something on your own. So here we are getting the CSV file directly from internet. It is basically that file. Uh, that file is basically hosted on GitHub. But what if you have your own what if you have your own CSV file? Then how to import it? Could you work on that? Can anyone find out? See, you can make your own CSV file. Like take a simple use case. Take few specifications of cars. Take a data set of 10 different cars. First parameter, take the first parameter as speed, the top speed. Second parameter probably mileage. Third parameter engine capacity. Fourth parameter something else. And the fifth parameter is your class name. That is nothing but the car name. Take the data in a CSV file. Make a CSV file. You can make a CSV file using your Microsoft Excel. Okay. So take your Excel sheet and create 5 different columns of and write about cars. That's it. And figure out how to import that CSV file. See, only this part changes, rest all remains the same. Just this part changes. These two lines would change. Instead of assigning a URL, what you need to do is you need to figure out how to import a CSV file and assign it to the variable called data. Okay. And labels, coming to the labels would change, isn't it? Previously, it is just sepal length, sepal width. Now, top speed, what is the engine, and all that, right? Yes, you can import it by assigning the file location. That's right. Uh, for your reference, I will give you. Yes, Chandra, you need to load it from the local system. Yeah, take a CSV file from your desktop or anywhere. Try to get it. Try to import it. Let me show you one example. Try to find out how to read CSV files using Python. Okay, you create when you are saving that Excel sheet, give the format as CSV. You can give it when you're trying to save it. How does it know that it had to predict the name and not any other detail? Good question, actually. So if you observe something, I divided the data set into two parts here. Y. What does Y represent? Y is just the labels part. Okay. So whenever you send Y train, the second part, this one, in the fitting, whenever you do this fitting, X train basically represents data. By data, I mean the values. This is called labels. You give them separately. Okay. You give these two separately. So whenever you give the labels separately, it means there are only three chances in your labels, right? Setosa, versicolor, and virginica. So it understands that your machine learning algorithm understands that, okay, whatever is the outcome, it will be lying within these three. That is how it understands the labels. So every time you need to divide your information into data and labels. Labeling is very important, Labeling in data sets is very important. Label is nothing but a possible outcome. Okay. Isn't it? Out of those three, one must be a possible outcome. So labels are possible outcomes. Yes, that's right. See, labeling is one of the biggest task, actually. You know, and for example, I'll give you a very good example. If you see hate speech on Facebook, hate speech, there are a lot of scandals happened, and hate speech is totally banned, and Facebook and all the other social media platforms are trying to reduce it. But you never know who's going to speak what out of those billion people. So you need to take a few offensive words and offensive statements or images or videos, and you need to label them that they are offensive. If at all that is posted onto the social network, it shouldn't be accepted at all, because you cannot do it as a manual process, right? I'm posting something, you cannot add a guy in between to validate the post. You can't do that for billion people, and you never know where that post would come from. So you definitely need a artificial intelligence system to find out whether this particular picture which is posted by this guy is offensive or not. So even to do that, even before that, you need to take samples of all the offensive content first, all the offensive images, all the offensive statements, words, and everything. And then you label it whether it is offensive or not. So the labeling is basically done manually. That is a manual process again. You need to make the data set, because a human understands whether that is offensive or not. A machine can't understand it. completely. Of course, if you give some words, if you give some these beautiful words which are existing in the statements, then it could understand. But what about those words which are out of scope? What if someone is scolding someone without using any cuss words, you know, which could be hurtful? A human only can understand. He's using all the good words, but the sentence formation is basically hate. He's spreading hate. So in those cases, they need to label the information, you know, and that is done manually. And huge companies are actually recruiting thousands and thousands of people just to work on these kind of tasks, you know, just making a data set. What if it wasn't the last column, then somewhere in the middle of the CSV? If it is somewhere in the middle of the CSV, you change this code. Y is equal to array colon comma 3. If that column is 3, then you take comma 3. That's it. You just change the address of Y. That's it. Good question, actually. Okay. So take some time, make the CSV, make your own data set, and make your own data set, import the data set, and then try to predict it. You can take cars, you can take any information that you want. Even you can take marks of your students, you know. Take the previous performance of a student and try to predict how is these marks, which group of people these marks does belong to, you know. It's up to you. Label should map with the key value in the dictionary. Not necessarily. In few cases, yeah. Actually, that is, see, once you have data in a dictionary, you can do whatever you want. Whichever key you want to pull as a label, it's up to you. I'm giving you 10 minutes to work on creating a CSV file. Please do that and acknowledge by 12 o'clock. A heads up that you will be having a lunch break at 12:30 p.m. and the evening session may go up to 4 o'clock. Janvi ma'am, share your screen once, please. I'm giving you the access. Ma'am, I think you missed a line. Let me share my screen. I'll show you which line you missed. Um, okay, share it once again, please. Sorry, could you share it once again? Model to implement. I think could you check the spelling? I think there is some typing mistake over there in line number 22. It is model to. I think you added some I in between. I guess remove that letter. Yeah, just check all the. Yeah, yeah. That's a typo. That's it. All right. Yeah. Thanks. Anyone facing any issues? Please share your screen. I gave you the access. Just ping on the chat box. I'll give you that. I'll give you permission. All right. Guys, the recordings will be given to you on the. I mean, the our. I'll open the session for doubts. I will unmute you all. Just give a minute. Actually, I have to explain a lot, so I am not giving option for the doubts. I'm taking doubts from the chat currently. Yeah. So yeah, let me address the doubts here. Errors. I'll show you how to import the CSV so that you can correct your errors. Yeah, session recordings will be given to you over email. The complete recording of yesterday's and today's. I think our team is communicating with you on email or on Telegram group. There must be some communication channel. They will send you a link. So as soon as you get the link, try to download it. Probably by tomorrow or day after, they will send you. Yeah. The recording is pretty huge, so it may take some time to process it. Once the processing is done, they are going to share with you. Okay. Two things I will explain now. One is how to import a CSV file and how to give the address to it, and how to convert it into data frame conversion, and everything is already here. So you don't need to worry about it. So I'll show you that, and I'll also explain you one concept called loop, LOOP loop. Okay. So we'll look at those two now. Ruhi ma'am, yeah, your doubt is about the recording, right? Is it addressed? You can. Yeah. So number one, I'm opening a new code here. Let me show you how to import a CSV. First, let me make a CSV. So this is the syntax for your import CSV using pandas. You can actually use. Actually, someone was asking yesterday. Shall we import a CSV module separately? Not needed. You can do that with pandas directly. You don't need to import a CSV module. You don't need to write import CSV. That's not needed. You can directly do that with pandas. Okay. So, and one more thing is you can directly convert your CSV into a data frame within one step. So let's take the data first. I'm taking an Excel sheet now and put some info in it. I'm taking some random information here. And I'm saving it on my desktop. There are two ways to do this. The simpler way is to keep the Python file and the CSV file in the same folder. Actually, that is how your practice should be always. Whenever you're writing a program and you're depending on some different file, okay, you have the code file. See, for example, this is my code file. The file's name is untitled1.py. That is my file name. Always try to put your Python file in the same folder where your data is. Data is nothing but your CSV. That is the best practice. If not, if that is in some different folder also, you can import it. So now let me go to this and save this file as sample data dot csv. Okay, that is how you give the CSV format to it, and click on save. All right, and I'm doing one more thing here, that is I'm saving this untitled.py in desktop itself. I mean in the desktop folder itself. Means both will point to the same folder. Both are in the same folder right now. See, I'm saving it in the desktop as, and I'm naming this as csv import. That is the file name of the Python file. This is the file name of Python .py, and click on save. Okay, and this is where you need to write the path, and the path here is when when these two files are in the same folder, you can just write the file name directly. What is the file name that we gave? It is sample data.csv. Sample data.csv, and print the data frame. So what is it saying? The file does not exist. So it is not actually pointing to the file over here. Let's see where it is going wrong. So oh yeah, probably this could be an error. Why is it? I think it is not detecting this file. Let me try to let me check the location of this once again. Just a minute. I'll check the location. Probably there must be some error with the location. File name is wrong. It is correct only. It is sample data. Oh, wait. I think it got saved in a different format. Though I gave CSV, it would have been in a different format. Yeah, see, the reason for that is though I gave the name as .csv, sometimes it by default it converts into a CSV. But once I see, this is the file. This is one common error that you may face whenever you are trying to import a CSV. Yeah, that's right. I'm Janvi, ma'am. That's correct. So the file type is incorrect here. It is XLS format, but it didn't convert it by default. So let me resave it again and give it a name on the desktop. Then see the previous format I selected was the default format is taking it as Excel workbook, and then now I'm going to change it as CSV MS-DOS. Okay, I selected. Oh wait, I think let's take CSV comma delimited and click on save. Now go on to the desktop. It is now, you can check the format again just for the confirmation. It is now CSV delimited. And click on save. Replace it, that's fine. Come here, try to run it. See, I'm retrieving the information here. And one more thing that you could observe here is the it automatically detected what should be the column names. So by default, it takes the first row that is in the CSV file as the data frames names, and your data starts from 0. This is your data frame that you generated. Okay, so there are a few more operations that you can do around this. So I'll give you one reference of pandas CSV, so it would be pretty useful for you. Let me give you one article where your data, your entire information could be imported in various different formats. Please take this article reference, the one that I sent you right now. I sent the link on Telegram and YouTube chats. Please check. Okay, that's how you get the data frame. So see, basically what you did was you skipped all these steps in this data. So now let me modify this data, which is over here. What is the problem statement that I give? You need to form a data set for the cars. So I would say top speed of the car, mileage. I'll just take few parameters, okay, just for the time being. Product, instead of product, I'll take engine type or capacity or whatever. And class is nothing but the label, the car's label. You can give random information over here. I'm just giving a few integers over here. Mileage is, I don't know, I'm really not sure about this, but yeah, mine too. And the class is Mac. And likewise, you can take, I'll just take these two values. Typing all this is, you guys got it, right? Any doubts in this, making a CSV? I'll repeat the procedure once again, don't worry. Oh, mileage, how could mileage be this much? Save it. The reason why you're getting nan, not a number, is because you are basically giving some empty values over there. So that's fine. You can just form the data set like this. Fill up all the other values over here in this CSV file, and then basically you can skip all this, and let me come back to our program and modify this program according to the new data set. So you could remove these labels also, because you already gave the labels. You don't need to give the labels explicitly. I can remove these two directly over here and then replace this. You can say it as pandas as PD. I'm importing pandas as PD, and then I would take this data frame and replace it here. Instead of df, I would use data set. Now you have the data set with you. Okay. You just need to make sure that these values, and also here one modification that you need to do is here you take one more parameter like cost in lakhs is set to 20 and 1, and then the class as net and 1. Now it will align with the code that you wrote. So I have this information. The first 4 columns is going to be the data, and the last column is going to be the class. That's it. This is how you import it. And what is the data type of data set here? So you just need to make sure the ultimate data type of what is data type means which kind of data structure is it in. The data set data structure is now a data frame. Just make sure it is in data frame. That's it. Okay. Please modify that. And I know it may take some time to build that information, so you can try that later once this. Why are we not using data frame? You can use it, not a problem. You can use it. The reason why, actually, you can use any name. Good question, actually. You can use any name. The reason why I modified it to dataset is because, see, I can use df, but I just need to make sure that I need to use df everywhere. Instead of modifying those many values, I just modified the first value. That's it. Even you can use this also. You can write COVID also, not a problem. All right. Yeah, we need to replace everywhere. Instead of replacing it everywhere, I just named it as dataset itself, so that I no need to replace everywhere. Okay. See, every time the names that are on the left side of an assignment, I told you, I think that was the first thing that we discussed yesterday. Whenever in any programming language, there are 2 parts to it. This is the variable and this is the value. Variable could be anything. Okay, you just need to make sure there are no spaces between the variable name that you're writing. So you could use any name, whichever you want to assume. That's fine. Okay. Because I think the output is shown already. Could you executed the code? Index error where? I mean, could you elaborate your error, or just copy paste the error on the chat box in bits? Yeah, the Telegram group for teachers is actually I'm sending the information for you here itself on the Zoom chat. You don't need to go with the Telegram link for teachers. Yeah, you're on a right group, but I'm communicating with students in that group. With you, I'm communicating on Zoom chat. Yeah, you're on a right group. Nothing to worry.
So excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
The file that you had that was visible earlier, import pandas as PD, df is equal to all that. Then
Hmm.
print df. What was that? That was just for printing the values of
This
sample
is just a
data.
sample. I'm 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 just testing the code here, just making sure it is working, and I just copied it and included that in the main code. Yeah,
Okay.
this is just for my testing purpose. That's it.
Okay.
You can write it directly here also, not an issue.
Okay. And then in this program,
Mm-hmm.
is it the training would be done in this program? That is separating of the data that you have written
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in
training will be
the
done
other.
here.
Here. It's
Yeah,
fine. Not
here.
here. It's here.
Yes.
So, does that mean that we can create a CVV on our own and then we
Mm.
can just separate the data as we wish to?
Yes, yes, of course. See, what I did was reading the CSV. See, if I am going to test the CSV over here, I'm printing different values here. Again, it's going to be a chaos for me because I cannot find where the error is coming from exactly. So to make my job easier, I took a separate Python file, tested whether the CSV is working properly or not, and I observed that okay, it is able to get the values here, right? And then I use the same code. If you observe this line number one,
Yes.
is kept as line number two in the actual code, training code.
Yes.
And this line pd.read csv, I used it here. Means it's working. So
Oh,
once I confirmed that it is working, I included that in the main code.
okay.
So this is one of the practice that we normally do. You test the code somewhere, you then merge the code with the main code.
Okay.
You can also call it as debugging. There is one term to it, which is called debugging. Yeah. All right. Now, okay, I think it's almost time. Actually, there is one concept I want to discuss, that is looping, LOOP, loop, in programming. One of the important concept in any programming language. And then we will develop one application for hospitals, a chatbot, an AI enabled chatbot for healthcare units. Okay, so I have Json and everything with me. I'll give you that project. Very interesting project. Uh, we will be starting off with it soon. And let's go break for lunch and come back at uh, 1 hour. Or just let me check. I think there is one schedule. Yeah. I'm just. Let me just give you the break time. Give me a sec. Yeah, come back at 1:45, and we'll continue with understanding what is looping, and we'll develop a deep learning chatbot application for healthcare units. Okay. So thanks for joining. Hope you learned something new in this session, and I'll catch you at 1:45. The link will be activated at 1:45. Yeah. S3 ma'am, that is actually, yeah, various different samples for to execute the CSV file. Various different ways you can use a CSV file in Python. Yeah, I think you are referring to the latest link that is here. Yes, yes. Various different ways you can use a CSV file. Yeah. Thank you guys, and I'll see you at 1:45. And I am actually sharing my coordinates. I think few of you are asking for my coordinates. I'm sharing that with you. I sent my coordinates over there with email, number, and my LinkedIn profile. So you could communicate. If you have any doubts, you can explicitly, you can just ping me after the session because I may not be able to respond during the session. So yeah. Thank
Okay,
you so much.
sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir,
Yeah.
excuse me. Yes,
Yes. Yes.
excuse me. Yes, in the program that we are seeing, so we
Mm-hmm.
are using a library that is pandas. We are
Mm-hmm.
using a function read CSV from the
Mm-hmm.
module sklearn, and then we are also using these functions train, test, split,
Mm-hmm.
logistic regression. These are
Mm-hmm.
all functions.
Yeah.
And the CSV that we have made is sample data, and this is the programming that we can see. So it's going to split the data and it's going to display it. Is it like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Because
Not only just splitting and displaying it,
uh,
we split it because the reason for splitting is this function, this fitting function, this one, line number 19.
yes.
See, these
Okay.
three lines are related to machine learning.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let me segregate the code now. These three lines, line number 18 to 20, these are related to machine learning. Line number 16 is related to splitting the information. Why are you splitting the information? Because without splitting the information and putting it in proper format, you cannot send that information to line number 19. If you observe the outcomes of line number 16, this is the outcome of line number 16. What are the outcomes here? X train and Y train. Okay. Those outcomes are given as inputs in line number 19.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So the splitting is done just because we need to send that data as inputs to the machine learning function that is dot fit. Okay. And to get this training information properly, line number, I'm backtracing it. To get the line number 16, I cannot directly convert a CSV into this. So I extracted an array from it because this is in a data frame format. I cannot give a data frame directly to a train test split. I need to convert that into an array, right? So that's why I added, actually these lines are not needed. So that's why I divided that information and converted that into an array here. And this array information came from a data frame. Data frame came from the CSV. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No problem. All right, guys. See you at 1:45. Saubhagya ma'am, you can just directly download from Kaggle. If you select any, if you select any data set, it will ask you which format you want to download it from. I'll show you in the second session. We'll download one data set. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. See you then.